Hello, welcome everybody. Get started here in just a second. And I understand Commissioner Bangs will not be able to join us today. So we'll go ahead and get started. Work sessions are an opportunity for board members to discuss issues informally with staff and invited guests. The board encourages members of the public to attend work sessions and listen to the discussion, but there's generally no opportunity for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the board are welcome to do so during the board's regularly scheduled meetings held twice monthly. And we do have some changes to the agenda today. I know that we'll have to reschedule the behavioral health care update for another meeting, as Amy Baker's not able to join us today. But we will have the audit presentation and the county manager update. Do we want to start with the audit presentation, county manager?
Yes, I'm Chair Quayla, members of the board. Yeah, sorry about Amy just.
I can't hear you. Oh, could you? Okay, I guess it was me. Go ahead.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you now. Yeah, I think it was
okay.
It was my volume.
I always like talking and having nobody hear me, so, or I should say, listen to me. But I just wanted to say, just off of what Commissioner Quayla just mentioned, is Amy just contacted us this morning and she wasn't feeling well, so that's why she won't be joining us. But the first item will be the annual audit presentation, and we have Debbie Velasquez from the auditing firm who's been working with the county for a number of years on the phone. And if Debbie is there, I'll turn it over to Debbie for her presentation.
I am here. It's nice to be with you all.
Yeah, welcome.
I all have your audit report, I'm sure, which is a huge book of pages. I'm not going to go through every single page, but I will go through each section and kind of tell you what information is there. And then if you have specific questions, we can always address those too, or at a later time, you can send me an email anytime you like. Also with the book, the whole book is a letter. Usually there's 2 letters. This year we did not have any internal control issues, so we don't have an internal control letter for you. We just have the letter to those charged with governance. This is the post-audit letter. You got one before the audit started. That was something new this year that we had to add to our process. But this letter that you have in front of you just tells you what our responsibilities were, what the county's responsibilities were with regards to the audit, whether we had any issues during the audit. It talks a little bit about significant accounting policies and accounting estimates, and then any corrected or uncorrected misstatements, and that sort of thing. So that's just kind of an informational letter that you're free to read it at your pleasure. I'm sure you all find it also fascinating. If you move to the report, I'm going to start with the table of contents. This is a really good place for you to start as far as where to find certain information. You know, the introductory information, the financial statement, financial section. It goes on to other financial schedules and the statistical sections. We'll go through each of those areas just so that I can let you know what's in those areas, and then we can kind of go from there. If you turn to page 1, that's the transmittal letter that's submitted by the county for the annual comprehensive financial report certification. It's an award that gets awarded to any of the governmental entities that apply for it, and you've been a recipient of that award for many years now, as long as I've been a part of the audit. This is just information that's pulled together by the county. I think Monica actually did it this year. If you turn to the very end of that, the financial section, the very first page, which would be page 1, doesn't have a page designation on it. This is our opinion letter. You will see the very first part of it, it's changed the order of the paragraphs this year, but the opinion is the very first item that's noted for now. And you'll see that we had a clean opinion. We had no issues. Everything we felt was presented fairly and materially in all financial positions. And so that goes on for a few pages. The next big section, I think that most people will find beneficial to look through, starts on page 5. This is our management discussion and analysis. This kind of takes and summarizes all of the different sections of the report and gives it in a synopsis kind of thing. At least it's something for you to start with if you're not familiar with the reports, and then you can go back into the detail if you have additional questions. The basic financial statements, which start on page 15. Pages 15 through 17 are what we call the governmental or the government-wide statements. These are what we call, what you would be looking at as if you were a for-profit business. So you're going to see things on here such as capital assets, your debt, leases, those sorts of things. Those are all going to be represented on the statement of net position, and they're also taken into account under the statement of activities. So any of those accrual type things that you normally wouldn't see on your governmental type statements, those are all included in here. On page 16 or 18, pages 18 through 21 reflect more what you're used to seeing on a monthly basis from as far as statements showing what your revenue, what your balance sheet looks like by fund. Let's see. Page 29 starts what are the notes to the basic financial statement. So these notes, which run through page 74, explain everything that's in the statements ahead of it. This is another good area, if you're not familiar with the reports, to read through, because it will help explain the numbers that are in the statements ahead of it and give much more information for you to review. Then the next big section would be the budget to actuals. Those start on page 80 and run through page 127. You'll see that it's by fund, and you'll see the actual numbers versus what you budgeted, and then the variances. So if you, and I think you probably see something like that on a monthly basis, I would imagine anyways. The other financial statements, other financial schedules, which start on page 128 and run through page 152. These are what we call the statistical section. This is everything that's required as part of that annual comprehensive financial report. There are additional information that's prepared by the county, and we just include in our report so that when they do their review for that award, they have all that information available to them. Let's see. So then we move to page 153, which also doesn't have a page number on it, but this is the our letter, our independent auditor's report with regards to Oregon state regulations. As part of the audit, we have to test some of the areas in the Oregon minimum standards. And so this is that letter showing that you're in compliance with the areas that we felt were deemed necessary to test with regards to your organization. And then the last section of the report is what's the single audit section. It starts on page 155 and goes through page 164. Again, this is a section where we have to test federal expenditures because you expend more than $750,000 in federal expenditures every year. So we have to test certain programs, but you'll see everything as far as what the different awards are that you receive and what was spent in those awards. And then we also have a few little notes with regards to it, and then another opinion letter with regards to the internal controls over those federal funds. And we didn't have any findings in that area as well. So that's kind of the overview of the report. I don't know if there's areas you want me to go into in a more thorough way, or if you want to just take the time to review it on your own, and then if you have questions, get back to me. I'm happy to do that. Or you can funnel those questions through Monica as well right now.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate the quick overview. And you had me when you said clean audit. I love that part. That sounded fantastic. Let me see.
We
if
like
any
that
of
too.
Yes, always what we want to hear. Do we have any commissioners that have a question at this point in time? I'm not seeing any. So yeah, we'll have an opportunity now to kind of review. And if we do have any questions that might come up along the way, we'll make sure that we submit them. But yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the report.
Oh, you're very welcome. Anytime. Like I said, if anything comes up, just let me know.
All right, we'll do. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye. You too. Bye-bye.
And we'll move on to the county manager report. And I'll turn it over to Don.
Thank you, Chair Cuella. So if you don't mind, board, I'm just going to fill in a little bit of the extra time that we have by giving various updates on some of the work that the county's doing, and available to answer any of your board's questions. The first thing I just wanted to note is that your board was at the ribbon cutting for the jail last week. And I just want to take a couple seconds and kind of reinforce what the sheriff noted, because I think at these significant at the end of these significant projects, especially when they've been as successful as the jail is, we have to kind of pause and really reflect upon how that doesn't happen in a lot of places and how it did happen here, and kind of what goes into ensuring that that does happen. Because, you know, from my experience, large capital construction projects never happen, you know, by chance, meaning a good outcome. They happen because people are managing them from day zero all the way until completion. And this is like a lot of other projects where there was a lot of course corrections over the tenure of the construction, and those course corrections is what allowed us to get at the end with a facility that's going to serve the residents of Clatsop County and the sheriff for a long time, but also within budget. And I just want to reiterate that happens because we've had folks actively managing that. And there was a team of folks, and I hate to ever identify one or two or three or four because I always miss a lot of people. But certainly the sheriff, you know, Monica Still from the county manager's office, Dave Deffenbach from building and grounds, and Lieutenant Teague were all part of that. And it all started with the Board of Commissioners recognizing that this was an issue that was going to take, you know, future investment and, you know, set the course to go to the voters, and then thank the voters for also supporting it. So thanks to the board's leadership, thanks to the voters, thanks to the really competent work. One of the things I talk about a lot is that one of the most elemental things we do is to maintain public trust. And some of the threats to public trust is if we don't execute these types of projects well. And so the good news is hopefully we've reinforced some of that public trust. And I hope that we continue to do so. The other is that the legislative session is in full process. And I know many of you know that because you visit with the legislature on a number of different topics and in a number of different ways. There's a number of bills that certainly have the county's attention, and I won't go through all of them, but I was looking, and there is a House Bill 2758, which deals with ADUs. And I know this is a topic that was in front of the board recently, and there's a bill that would allow ADUs to be sited on lots less than 2 acres, which is one of the barriers in some rural areas. So we'll be watching that, and we'll be coming to the board and also talking about some of these bills as they take a little bit more form. The other is the Habitat Conservation Plan. As your board knows, there's an emergency meeting this afternoon at 4 o'clock with the Board of Forestry. And I think that there's a couple of things that they're going to be considering. One is potentially expanding the timeline to finish the HCP another 6 months. Another could be to consider having a second habitat conservation plan developed. I'm not sure if either of those would get votes at the Board of Forestry. But I think that's what they will be considering and discussing this evening. The next Board of Forestry meeting will be on March 8th. And I know there'll be a lot of public testimony for that meeting down in Corvallis. Based upon the most recent information, Clatsop County is hands down the most impacted county. And so I think that it's just something that, we, the county and all of our partners just have to go in eyes wide about what those potential financial, economic, social impacts are. The budget process is moving forward. I stated this before when we were talking about the budget policies, but from staff's view, this will be a very status quo year for the budget, and part of it relates to the uncertainty with the Habitat Conservation Plan. We don't see ourselves adding any new positions at the county unless they're dedicated revenue sources, and so it'll be status quo, and we're really working closely with our departments to help us meet that goal. The good news is we do have reserves that can help, but if we do have a 35% reduction in our timber revenues in 2020 as early as 2024-25, that will have significant impacts for us. There is information that is being drafted regarding the STR referendum. And so, as your board is aware, staff can only provide information, factual information. We can't advocate and we can't prepare advocacy materials. And so we are preparing materials, and we will be sharing those with the Secretary of State's office just to have them review them and to approve them before we then make them public. The last thing we want to do is to get sideways between that fine line between information and advocacy, and the Secretary of State's office is there to help us stay in our lane. So we will be doing that, and so your board will see drafts of those materials soon, and certainly very open to any feedback that you might have. Property. So I came to your board and talked a little bit about the property inventory and some policy work that the county needs to do to update the current property management policy, and then to really look at the inventory and have criteria as we look at the categorization of the property to make sure that we categorize them appropriately. And so as I mentioned, then it's going to take time. And so we're just starting that process. So in the meantime, we aren't moving forward with any of the properties that are currently out there. At this point, we're just working on the policy issues. And so I hope to have, something back to your board in a couple months to at least give you an update. But it'll take that long for us, given all these other priorities that I've been mentioning, to get that work done. And then finally, Monday is a holiday. So we'll be enjoying a 3-day weekend, and the county will be closed on Monday. So that's all I have. I know I covered a lot of different areas, and I'm happy to answer any questions that your board might have about any of that.
Thank you, County Manager. We appreciate all of your efforts in crafting the letter to the Oregon Department of Forestry and the Board of Forestry. I thought that was really well done. I had a lot of good feedback from people that saw the letter. And then, of course, the work on the homeless resolution and recrafting of that and editing and additions. Again, thanks again for being so flexible and able to meet those requests so that we can make sure we have a complete resolution that they can consider. So I appreciate all your efforts there. I think we've jumped through enough hoops on that one. I could say time and time again, we've certainly done our work. So thanks again. Any comments, questions from the commission?
Thank you, Jim.
Commissioner Webb.
Yeah, I guess somebody should say, good job, staff, on the audit. It is one of the delights of public service in this county to know that our staff is so competent in terms of its financial responsibilities. It's just a real pleasure. It takes a big load off of our shoulders. And I don't know how we could ever say thank you enough for the year after year good auditing reports that we receive as a board. Thank you, County Manager, and please thank all of your wonderful staff people. I know it takes a lot of moving parts to keep all of our financial reporting intact and so very approvable. So thank you. Job well done to you and your staff.
Thank you, Commissioner.
That's a great point, Commissioner Webb. I think it's easy to take it for granted, but that is a lot of work in order to make sure that we're in compliance and that we have a clean audit year after year. So well said. Any other comments, questions? Well, I think we're going to have some time back to everybody today. And I do appreciate, County Manager giving a little more of a report, being that we've had time to fill, but we'll be circling back with our regular meeting next Wednesday. Does anybody have anything for the good of the order? Okay, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good day.